Today I'm going to show you guys everything you need to know to create fire melodies consistently. Whether you're a beginner or have been producing for a little while, I guarantee you're going to learn a lot of valuable tips and tricks in this video. There's a variety of different scales in music, and the two scales that we're going to want to focus on is major and minor, kind of the most common scales used in music. When it comes to building chord progressions and stuff like that, you're going to use a mix between minor and major chords. Typically when you're using a minor scale, it's going to be something for maybe like darker, kind of like sadder sounding beats, and then for happier beats you're going to want to use a major scale typically. However, for every major scale there's like an inverse, which is the minor. So for example, all the white keys right here would be A minor, but they'd also be C major. It really depends on kind of how you arrange your chords within each scale in terms of how it's going to sound. And in the description you can find a little sheet that I created, and it just tells you like the emotion of each scale. Kind of a more depressing sound would be F sharp minor, so that's what we're going to do here. So we're just going to go back to view, scale highlights. We already selected minor natural versus selecting major at the top of this list. And now I'm just going to go to F sharp. All the highlighted keys right here, so these ones that are a little bit lighter, are the keys within the scale. So now we're gonna actually go in and build a chord progression. Right here, I'm gonna open up my analog lab / one-shot bank Blacklight. If you watched any of my tutorials, pretty much exclusively use either this one-shot / analog bank that I have here or my one-shot kit DaVinci. So we're just gonna use this plucked keys called focused. Let's just start on F sharp. And usually what I like to do to get started, I'll just pick out the root notes for the chords. So I'll just do one note right here, listen through and see where something else might sound good. Then all I'm going to do right here, highlight everything, click Control Shift. That's going to pull this note out right here. And then we're just going to click Shift and then go up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so you can see that all of these notes are still in the scale right here. Chord progressions are a mix between minor and major chords. And so right here, in order to make a minor chord, just go up 2 spaces, so 2 spaces in between here. If you want to do a major chord, which it's going to sound good right here, I can tell because a minor chord wouldn't be in the scale, you're just going to go up 3 spaces. So we can just go here and do that. This will give me 2. There's no note in the scale over there. And then right there, that should work as well. The other note that would be minor isn't in the scale. If you wanted to expand on this a little bit, you can go in and start adding additional notes. So let me just pull this up right here. That's a note in the scale, so it's going to sound good. Let's go maybe right there, also in the scale. Let's go right here. These notes line up together, so that'll sound pretty good. This note also lines up with this one way over here. Some other things that we could do, transpose a couple notes. What that is you're just highlighting a note and moving it up or down an octave. So for this one, I don't think it sounds that good if I move those down, as most of these notes are already really close together. Maybe if you had something that was more like maybe all of these notes right here and just move them up an octave, and then it'll make it sound a little bit bigger. If you want to just make it sound a little bit realer, Alt-R to randomize, and then you're just going to want to go in and play with this velocity knob, and this is going to make it sound more realistic. When you're actually playing a piano, you're not hitting all of the notes with the exact same amount of force. We can also go and do Alt-S, which is just to strum it, and what this is going to do is also when you're playing the piano, you're not hitting all of the notes at the exact same time, so this just makes it sound a little bit more realistic. Another cool trick I think you guys should know about is, let's say you have a chord built and you just can't figure out what to put next. If you just go and copy that chord and then just move it either up 5 or down 5, it's pretty much always going to sound really good. So let's just do that right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then another tip is, if you can pull out a chord like this, just look for spots where the chord lines up in a lot of places. In this case, decent amount of places right here, but if we just move this chord up right here, this will probably sound good as well. And then we'll drop this one down 5 again as well, and we should get a pretty good sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this case, to maybe make it sound a little bit more cohesive, you could just transpose the notes that are kind of sticking out a bit. So this note right here is pretty far away from everything over here. So let's just try and drop this down and see how that sounds. And then maybe we could go in and push that up right there. And this is an area I see tons of people like really mess up on. A lot of people will really just be clicking in random stuff. They'll try to, fill up this grid with tons of different sounds, thinking, oh, I need to put a sound in literally every single space. The key with this is you want everything to go at like a constant rhythm, and it's not overly complex. If you're gonna have someone on the song, it's kind of gonna get in the way of how creative they can be with it. So I always just like to keep it as simple as possible. Oftentimes I'll just put chords and won't even have like a counter melody, but I do want to show you guys how to make it. So first thing you can do to know which notes will sound good is in the scale. They'll typically sound pretty good. Anytime you have a chord, so like I have this chord right here, using any of these notes in this chord should sound pretty good. Right here, if you want to create some tension, you can use a note that's not part of this chord down here. So that's why I added that D right there. We're just going to try to create a rhythm with it. So when I do create these rhythms, it'll typically be like every 2 bars we'll kind of have a rhythm, and then maybe like a change up at the end. And then I'll usually just copy it over like this, but I'll change this up a little bit. So I'm going to drop this down, and I see that the C sharps line up, as well as this note right here lines up with the first chord's top note. And now I'm kind of going to do the same thing for the kind of close of this counter melody as well. So this lines up with the other C, and then that lines up with another note as well. Slow this down a little bit. So right here, I went and just duplicated everything over. When you do this, a good rule of thumb is to kind of create some variation at the very end. Maybe move this up here. I just chose this one because it kind of repeats right here. And these other notes, if you look, this is the same note right here, but I just wanted it to go down a little bit more. So it's kind of like falling down right here. Ended up changing the sound. I changed it to this sound in my new bank called Juno. Quick message from myself. Got a new song dropping this Thursday. Definitely check it out. Wake up, motherfucker! When it comes to actually picking sounds for layering, you just want to make sure that you're not using 2 sounds that are like almost exactly the same. For example, if you're using like a really spacey, deep sounding pad sound, you don't want to layer that with another spacey, deep sounding pad sound. You're going to occupy the exact same space, and it's just going to make everything sound worse. So I've got this other sound from my new bank, this sound called Crown, and all I did is copied and pasted it over exact same spots for the sound right here. It's got a little bit more higher tones. Now if I take it out, add it. So it just adds another dimension to the sound, and it does sound a little bit muddy. I could just go in and pop this up an octave. Some other things you can do though is, because we have this little top melody already going right here, you could either add another sound, delete this from everything, this sound right here, all this over here as well, paste this in right here. Next thing you can do, if you want to add like some variation as like a kind of layering technique, and you want like a plucky or bell kind of sound for this, here we'd want to go and do Control Q to quantize everything, and then click Control L because you want all the notes to be like the same length, and then you just go to Alt A, and you can kind of create like an ARP, and that can sound cool when you're layering sounds. So So next thing that I like to add for my melodies, and this is kind of optional, but I usually like to do this, and I'll either just have a bass line playing throughout my beat, or I'll switch between a bass line and an 808, and I feel like that adds like a really cool variation. It's great for adding breakdowns and stuff like that. So I'll just go in and add a nice little bass line. Before adding the bass line though, I just went in and I cut out some of the low end. So all you need to do is open up Fruity EQ2, go here, and just cut out like about this much. Should be fine, like 200's a pretty good range. And the reason you want to do that is because the bass line is going to occupy a lot of those lower frequencies, and so if you have a bunch of instruments that are occupying those lower frequencies, it's just going to sound bad when they're all together versus each sound kind of having its own little spot. So we're going to open up Blacklight, and we're going to use the black bass, the Legendary. And all we're going to do here on these root notes right here, we're going to add this bass line. We're going on to some light mixing. Every Tuesday I'm going to be dropping a video where I get into like the fundamentals of producing, and so this is the melody one. Mixing one is coming soon, so definitely subscribe if you're not subscribed already. So the first thing for mixing, like we talked about, is you want to cut out the low end of your sound to make room for your bass and your 808 and stuff like that. For your bass line specifically, you're going to want to cut out between like 20 and 30 hertz. When you leave it in, it just kind of like sucks some energy out of your bass lines. Now let's just do some like basic leveling. This bass line's way too loud. This is a pretty good volume for this bass line, I think. Usually for these sounds right here, I like them between like 15 and 12 dB. Maybe add a little bit of reverb as well to this. Cut out some lows. And then if you want to lay this out and like kind of create a sample, let's just do something real quick. Split by channel, select all these, drag them out. One of these instruments playing right here, as well as this little counter melody, and this would just be the intro. Then when it actually drops into the hook, I would take out melody right here, so like both of these sounds play over there. And then for the second half of the hook, because you always want it to be a little bit different, I would have the counter melody come in, and then for a verse, I just go in and take everything out, add this back right here, and then before it drops into the hook again, maybe have everything come back. Alright, so I'm going to play this for you guys in a second so you guys can hear it, but please subscribe. Make sure to come back every Tuesday as I'm going to be dropping a video very similar to this, but on like a different topic area. Just kind of give you all the sauce that I know for completely free. So it's like a free course essentially. And yeah, thank you for watching. Peace.